Hello out there, Foxes fans, and welcome back to yet another edition of the U.S. Foxes podcast, coming to you live, as always, from various parts of the United States. I, as always, am your host, Matt Folks in San Diego, joined this evening by two of my co-hosts. We are without Chris. He's pressing the buttons behind the scenes tonight, and we do appreciate his work, but he's not going to be voicing his frustrations tonight. That's going to be up to Jim and Jason. Mr. Jim Harris down in Houston, Texas Foxes. Good to see you, buddy.
You too. Always the silver lining of being a Leicester fan is getting to hang out with you fine friends every week after, so we can wallow in our misery together.
Yeah, we're going to bitch, but at least we can bitch together. Mr. Jason Becker in New York City. How are you, my dear friend?
I'm missing Chris tonight. I need Chris's rays of sunshine, but I guess the benefit of only having three of us is that there'll be plenty of room for us to go right around town in a Mini.
Yes, definitely. If you guys notice the title of the pod today is MINI-mized. That's a genius reference Mr. Jason came up with this evening. That's just great, dude. Just perfect and exactly. Another defeat, guys, to Chelsea. We'll dive right into it. If you watched, you just saw more of the same. Missed chances, guys that just look like they don't want to be playing there. More Danny Ward madness. I mean, he did have a few good saves, but again, we saw that thing where if he has to think about it, it's done. It's these quick reactions, though. He can stop those all day. Like, if his brain doesn't have to be used, he can make the stop. So Danny Ward's just another, piece to the crab pie right now that we've got to get figured out. Subs were terrible. Former players scoring on us. That's always the best as well. I guess let's just dive right into it. Jason, your thoughts. We see the lineup. Big Dan's in there again. 3-5-2. We do get to see Daka and Nacho up there together. So I guess if you were trying to be an optimist, you could have looked at the lineup and said, hey, okay, maybe we'll get something today. Your thoughts on Saturday morning?
Yeah, I didn't mind the lineup. I thought it was probably one of the best sides we'd be able to put out. The wingers haven't been working in the last few weeks. Let's just be honest about that. Barnes and Tete have had a rough go. We're not scoring goals. Let's get two strikers up there. Iheanacho is starting to sputter a little bit. Daka doesn't do as well as a lone striker, so let's play them together. And if you remember when we kind of went on that run the year we won the FA Cup and things were clicking, Roger switched back to that three at the back formation with Iheanacho and Vardy up front whenever he could. But the difference, I think, then was he was able to play a hot hand. And now we're kind of in panic mode and just trying to kind of piece something together to, again, though, out football aside, if you look at the 11 names on the team sheet, it's really not bad at all. I mean, there's quality out there, but still, we can get into this a bit, but Roger still seems to kind of want to manage for the team that he thinks that he has and not the personnel that's available, and certainly not the 11 that went out there to play. We created chances. We won the XG battle, but we're still hemorrhaging goals. And it's time to kind of be pragmatic and figure out how we're going to pick up points. But we can get into that, after we kind of digest the game, I guess.
For sure. And, I think to your point, he's just convinced that he can play himself out of this. All you have to do is just look at his complete lack of desire to change anything going forward. I mean, when you're down in a game anyway, like, let alone the fact that we're now in a relegation fight, but just if you were, say we were in sixth and we were playing Chelsea, when you go down and, you know, the time is running out and it's like, okay, maybe let's start getting some balls forward here. Let's launch some balls. Let's get some offense going. No, we're just going to keep playing it out of the back and doing these backward side passes with, you know, 3 minutes left in the match. Speak to that, dude. Do you think it's just more of his just ineptitude? What is it?
He made changes. He made subs, but I think he made the wrong subs and kind of killed the game. All of you guys that are in group chats with me know that Pappy Mendy is a player that can like really do my head in sometimes. Just a lot of always making the safest pass possible, which is usually backwards and usually less than 5 yards, and just kind of hiding and shying away from the ball. But I thought he played great. I think he was probably our best player, and I just, unless he was injured or tired, I just don't understand why he was taken out of the game. And Samari is put in, who seems to like come back from the World Cup break and just forgotten about like how to play football and what you're supposed to do on the pitch. And there's just no urgency from him. Our wingers are just not doing anything now. And Daka seemed like the only, even though he had a rough game kind of physically all over the pitch and holding up the ball, he did look like the only guy who was going to score a goal. And then he was the only one on the side who did score a goal. So maybe he doesn't have 90 minutes in his legs because he hasn't been playing much. But yeah, some of the subs were a bit baffling, and also some of the way that the side was set up was a bit baffling to me as well. And I'm sure we'll jump into that too. Yeah,
Jim, you in agreement on all that? It just throwing shit against the wall. Let's see what sticks.
Well, I obviously read Rob Tanner's article midweek and went to 5-3-2. I think it was time to try something a little bit different. I think the crazy thing is we've been talking about playing a high line and how vulnerable we are, and we switched to 3 at the back, which in theory should give us a more permanent presence in the middle. It should narrow down, play those centre backs sort of the width of the penalty box, or somewhat, spread them a little bit, but sort of create some solidity. And it didn't work. And I think we'll get into like the goals in a minute, but the biggest thing is we're just too slow with the ball still. Like there's no, like we did make a few good chances in the first half. And I do want to say that first 10 minutes, we looked all right. And I felt like, oh, it's not going to be too bad. Let's see how we're in this game. We're kind of progressing. Nothing really happened. I don't think anything in the first 10 minutes happened. And then all of a sudden, from a corner that was a lobbed deep corner flicked over by Fofana to space, you think, oh, Koulibaly, he's out. What's he going to do down the left wing? And he turns KDH inside out, and then he gets a cross in, and you think, oh, that's a nothing cross, that's just to the far post. What, no danger there. And of course it's to Ben Chilwell. Of course all he does is he says, I'm just going to get it on target. I'm just going to make sure I get contact. And I've watched this goal now 5 or 6 times just to see what happened. I don't know why I did that to myself.
I was going to say you must hate yourself.
I'm watching. First of all, I'm watching the defenders.
Maybe you were trying to figure out what he was pointing at, because none of us could figure that out.
Well,
I mean, were you able to figure that out?
I was trying to figure it out, Matt, because he's pointing at people in the middle, and I think all I can think of is he's pointing at his center back to say, okay, Chilwell's going to just put it back into the box. He's going to maybe head it, maybe just sort of get it in danger. So make sure you're marking up. And he's looking, but he's not concentrating on what's happening with the ball, the body shape of Chilwell, who's clearly all he's thinking is, oh, look. And he leaves a huge gap on the near post. So A, it's poor positioning. B, it's crap reactions as well. He fell over like he was, had a life alert attached to him, and he was, about to ring the bell in the shower. And I just think about it like, could we say, Pereira, could he have closed down Chilwell a little bit quicker? Don't let it drop. It hung in the air for so long that it's just like, what are we doing? And I just think like after the first 10 minutes, and I literally thought, and the commentators, oh, well, Leicester normally do quite well in the first 15 minutes and have scored goals. And clearly haven't been watching us recently. We haven't had a shot on target for, 3 games, whatever. Apart from the other, and Chelsea never score in the first 15 minutes. Oh, guess what happens? They freaking score. And then at that point, it's like, okay, this is going to be messy and horrible. But I think to the team's credit, they actually kind of pushed on and we created some chances. And I think we had like straight away after Madder's free kick that Amati did the best defending he performed the whole game.
Great point. Misses and sitter that we've seen a few of these the last few games where guys literally just have to have their forehead forward and the ball will go in the net. But instead they move it this way a little bit and it goes off into row 4 instead of just going in. It literally, some of these goals, it's just insane to me. It is harder to find a way to miss them than it is for them to go in. And that just, it's more on this season and what's happening. I think it's just a perfect cherry on top. That goal from Chilwell, and I knew it was going to be, and then the little fuck goes and slides with his celebration. And it just, if you're a long time listener, that is one of my all time pet peeves. And I feel like it used to be a bigger pet peeve for a lot more people, but now there's like this, attitude where it's okay to celebrate against your former club. But I never subscribed to that, but more proof to me just the character of Ben Chilwell and the family he came from that forced their way out of Leicester City, just scum. Anything else there, Jason, you want to speak on?
Yeah, I mean, he made comments that he never had to make after he left, and it's just weird. It just shows that like you're just like still, I mean, we're adults and we're talking about it, but just shows that kind of like just immature kind of like you're just like still it's like a big kid, like the world kind of revolves around you, and it's just like I don't know, just that type of attitude and that like pretty boy kind of like just douchey modern footballer is just just really hard to ever like him, even when they do play for your side. And he wants to give it large and do that now, but he was also the same player that was afraid to take throw-ins against Millwall. So but of course he got his last laugh, and look, and if you're Ben Chilwell, it's like, all right, pal, go slide with your on your knees and your hands cupped because you scored against Leicester. But that ain't nothing special these days. Everyone's doing it. So
join the club.
Yeah, big whoop. So so I mean, you might like, it's like I just don't understand. I don't know. I mean, I know fans have been getting on him, but but we did respond well to the goal. There were some really good chances, and I think there are some positives from the game. The side did fight. It was a nasty game. I think a lot of us have been wanting to see a little bit of just like meanness, a little bit of nastiness from the boys, because we're just too nice. They get pushed around all the time. You gotta do that. And I mean, maybe Ricardo was probably also lucky to even stay on the pitch after he got his studs up. But it was great. It's like every time João Felix got the ball, we put a little hot sauce on every tackle, on every clearance. And I want to see more of that. So that was encouraging, because it seems like that is just not the kind of Rodgers way, but the players did understand that, hey, we're going to have to fight here. And there's still a little bit of bad blood, I think, between the sides, going back to the 2020-2021 season. So that was good. But what we're seeing, and when we talk about these missed chances that like it's harder to miss than to score, I think some of that's a symptom of just the players are being overcoached. and they're low on confidence. And you've got guys that are constantly trying to think about what they're doing wherever it is on the pitch, but especially when they're in front of goal, instead of making an instinctive play. And it just feels like that's the way this kind of season's gone. Every time things have gone poorly, we're changing things up. We can't make the quick pass that our opponents seem to make, because the players are just always trying to remember where their teammates are supposed to be. Where am I supposed to play this ball? Where at this point of the season, there's really no excuse for that. It should be second nature. It should be something that you can manage a side to do in their sleep, and it's something that we have had a lot of trouble with.
And yeah, he's a human shit bag, and he's got terrible Amish hair or whatever the hell Joel's hair is right now. I don't know what that style is, but it's awful. It looks like a mushroom from Mario. But I will say that kind of finish is what we need. Like, here's
one on target.
Well, just do it on target. You have a keeper that's struggling, that's in his own head, that has been terrible week after week. Just kick the fucking thing on target. And I'm sure that was the message from Potter, is just put balls on frame and they will go in, guys. And right now, instead of doing that, we are all trying to do Brendan ball. And yeah, Jason, it's exactly like you said. Instead of just kicking it, it's where can I pass this to pass this? And then I'll get in position to kick it in instead of just kicking it in. And that overthinking is just paralyzing us, Jim.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I think watching a lot of sort of analysis, from TIFO and people, there was a video they brought out about, sorry to mention them, but Spurs, and how they kind of are boring to watch, and they just do this. If a team sits back, this what they call the horseshoe, where it's just going right wing back to left wing back and sort of filtering through the center mids. And I think we kind of are very much the same. And it reminds me a lot of England when they are also not able to progress the ball. You have you kind of, the team, whoever you're playing knows, like, no one's going to really beat me. They're not going to play an intricate pass. I'm not saying that didn't happen on Saturday, because I think it did, and we did create some good opportunities, as emphasized by the XG win that Jason mentioned earlier. But like, generally, I think it's just the speed of the ball that moves is like, actually, it's one of those where it's the players could run faster with the ball and the ball moves. But and that's opposite. But I think what happened was we sort of started getting back into the game after the goal. We had the Amati chance, whatever it was, clearance. But then we're kind of pushing, and I felt like, okay, we're all right. And then we just start squeezing up. And I think there was a bit more pressing this weekend. We lambasted them for playing a high line, but not pressing. And I think they did start pressing. I think having two up front, you saw Daka was running. You saw that KDH was closing down. We saw that, Ricardo was pressing up high up the pitch as well and sort of squeezing over. And I think Amati was obviously playing at more of a wide right mid fullback. But then what happens is we're pushing up. No one's paying attention. And we have a huge let-off when a simple ball over the top puts João Felix through. And he takes it down, and it's an amazing touch from the kid. I love watching that guy. But he just like takes it, watches Ward kind of amble out, and then dinks it, and it, just kisses off the post, like when you're playing pool and you kiss the cue ball off the
bumper,
whatever it's called, the cushion. Sorry, I can remember the word for a second. It's been a long day at work today, but you're like, okay, right, this is a let-off again. But again, it's like, okay, heads up, guys. We go to the other end of the field, and I think the chance where KDH's shot hits the bar, it's like, yeah, commentators go wild. And I watched it, and I went, he hit that about like half a mile an hour. It had a huge deflection, and it just kind of looped onto the top of the bar. Hey, but it was a shot. He tried.
I was going to say, I can't blame them. They're just getting excited.
Yeah, and we're pushing with we're creating these openings, and there's some daylight on this game that we can go and do something. And it was almost like Chelsea got in that first bit. They felt like they could just still kill us off with a second goal. which they nearly did like 3 or 4 times before, and it left some space for us to create some chances. And I think we did try and do something, and I can keep going, or hand back to you guys for a minute, but like it led to their 2-0/1-0 again with again João Felix. But that was a great play. That was like proper football. Bing, 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 cross, goal. And it's like, thanks, João Felix, for just like running too much and getting too excited that move was happening. And we were saved by a gnat's knob, as people maybe say.
Well, Jim, when you're contrasting like those two types of chances, and I just have a question. I don't know who's going to answer this, or if Rodgers is ever going to kind of come to terms with this, but why every week our opponents can play a through ball, play a diagonal ball, play a ball over the top, and get clean through on goal? And we're never in that position. We never see our players ever do that. And that's when our strikers are at their best. That's when we've scored like our most iconic goals. That's when we're playing. When's the last time that's happened?
I can tell you, actually. It was the first kickoff of the game. We played a long ball to the corner. That was the only time.
But it still wasn't like clean through on goal.
Right.
Why can every team seem to do this against Leicester City Football Club? But Leicester City Football Club is completely unable to do this against anyone else.
Leicester City Football Club, who have built our current, our current status on where we are as a club. Our most legendary goals and scores have come in that route, Jason. You're exactly right.
Yeah, every period of success that this club has always had, that counter, that ball, that fast play is always there. Daka's a fast striker. There's no reason why he can't get behind, but it's because of the way that they're playing.
Yeah,
because of the disconnect between the lines. You've got defenders that are constantly having to turn around and run backwards. They're playing a slow, ponderous build up. And come on, we're not going to zip the ball around with KDH and with Papi Mendy as the midfielder. So something has to kind of change there. And I don't understand why the hell Dewsbury Hall is being forced to play on the right side of anything.
I was gonna say that.
You even have to sit at the right side of the lunch table of the canteen. I mean,
actually, Jason, to your point, I think the last time we really saw a good through ball like that was KDH on the left-hand side,
yes.
Harvey Barnes.
Right. Oh, putting Harvey, yeah.
But that was him. It's almost like, if for those of you who've played FIFA, it's like you're hammering, you're pushing up, and they can just spam a through ball, and it just beats everything and everyone, and the striker locks onto it and runs through. But then to your point, Jason, João Felix post hit, easy lob pass outside, beats everybody. He's clean through. The goal
that gets us all game.
Yeah, but then the pass through, when they actually worked it through, they went through the middle of our two center midfielders to get to work the ball from left to right, to spread it out along the ground. And then we can't even defend that because no one knows like where anybody is, what's going on. In theory, they're playing 3 up front, but they're really playing like Havertz just sort of drifted everywhere. We should be being able to say, this is pretty easy. We've got a bank of 3. Just pick up, defend, pick up and watch what's happening. And like, it's basic stuff. And I feel like this was Harry Souttar's was probably his worst game, but I feel like he was sort of lost on where he was because he had 2 guys who were just like, who do the hell whatever they want.
You said the word, man. I think you said the magic word, basic. Do the basics. Make the football simpler. Get clean sheets. We're in a relegation scrap. I don't know. It seems like, and nobody at the club wants to admit that, like, these guys are in serious trouble. If we look at the table and where everyone is, I almost use the table as my background instead of this nice mini logo. I just don't see. I mean, I don't see this team staying up with the way things are going. We're giving up fast break goals, giving up goals over the top, having a keeper that's not making the saves that you expect him to make. And you just have this kind of side that's an organization that both seem to be just in denial and think, oh, well, we've got the players are too good to go down, and the manager is too good to go down. No one is too good to go down.
Yeah.
No one deserves no one has a right to any points in this league. Maybe unless you're Chelsea and you don't get handballs called against you in the box, but you can't take any matchup for granted. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And so nothing's changing here. And this team and Rodgers does not know how to get back to basics. We want to over football and overcomplicate things. That's why guys can't make instinctive finishes. Guys can't make instinctive passes. And we give up goals and we don't score.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because you always ask us, and you're a great host, and then you indulge Jason and I. So we get the let off, and then we get the goal. What are you thinking?
First of all, I was thrilled for Daka. Great finish, right? But if you're wondering, was I suddenly like, oh hell yeah, here we come, this is gonna work? No, I had no doubt in my mind that we were going to. Now I did go crazy in the bar, I definitely screamed, but I think that was just more the fact that I got to celebrate a fucking goal, and we got shots on target. I think, dude, like the whole thing, and you brought this up last week, Jason, where we talked about players that know they're not going to be here next year, and why would they give that extra bit. And I really think there's a direct line that you can draw with Brendan here too, where Brendan almost got an arrogance about him where he doesn't want to dumb down his tactics. Like that would be a shot at him that he can't figure his way out of this. And when you have rumblings in the media about, well, Tottenham very interested in Brendan Rodgers, they love what Brendan Rodgers done, I think it's become very easy now for Brendan to just go, they didn't give me the players, they didn't give me that I wanted, I'm still this brilliant tactical technician, you give me the money and the players and I'll be fine. And I think that's leached into his mindset now, where he's like, I'll end up somewhere else, I'll be at a bigger club, they don't want to fucking give me the money and the support that I need. Watch what happens now, guys. And I honestly think like that is now into the club. Because say we will about Nigel Pearson. Obviously, I love him. You guys, I got a dog named after him. But Nigel's tactics were never something that they're gonna write books about. But you never had a doubt in your fucking mind that guy had his players back, that guy had the fans back, and that guy, not the media's back, but he was going to do what it took or give his best to his players and to his team to win. And I think we have the exact opposite of that right now, Jim. And I think it's just permeating every level. And Brendan's he's just kind of is what it is.
And I totally agree. I think like the thing about Rodgers, if he does keep this up and we go down and he thinks I'm going to get another job, I think the thing that people will look at him is he going to say, well, I couldn't didn't have the players to do this. So if he goes to Spurs, he's shown he can't build a team and a squad. Recruitment is not his strong point, and he's not getting players who play how he wants us to play. Like we've seen a few players now that have come in that maybe are a bit more Brendan Ball, because Fass and Suter are centre backs who can play the ball. We have his inverted his inverted fullbacks back. We have James Maddison, who's probably one of the best midfielders in the country, who is just probably one of the ones who maybe isn't here next season, but he's not playing like he's not here. He's trying everything. I think he's trying too much in a way, because he's like, to Jason's point, hey, no one else is going to move the ball around, so I better do everything and get that through. But I think there's like, and I think like Brendan Rodgers, if he does go to a Tottenham, he probably gets the new manager bounce, and then they go on a run and they probably do really well. But I think he's not showing that he's able to adapt and instill the basics and instill like confidence and instill like belief. And I watched the Pep Linders video on Friday. I think I gushed about him to all of you guys, but just to kind of come and listen to like how he thinks about treating his players and how they create the environment for thriving that then the players build and want to do it, and how the players are the ones that also say, hey, this is what you've got to do, this is what you've got to do, because this is how we do it around here. And he and Klopp kind of create that, and like the youngsters go and see Mo Salah, you know, doing his preconditioning, and then they go and do the Mo Salah preconditioning. Like, I don't see where we've got like that in our, you know, in our club of like, who do you want to be like? You know, I want to be like Vards and have a vodka and Red Bull before a game or whatever. Right. But like, we saw it when we were in, like when players came in, when we had Ranieri and when we had Nigel Pearson, to your point of, this is how we play. This is our identity. This is what we do. We played some fantastic football under Rodgers, and but I don't think we ever really had a consistent identity. We were still a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. Mm-hmm. And what happened is we played on confidence and we played instinctively. And I think we played a bit of fast football because of the way the players were in that mindset of knowing, to your point, Jason, where are we? We don't have to think we don't have to look up and see where people are going to be. I can just play a ball quickly forward and know someone's going to get onto it, or I can create a triangle. And now it's like you see them get the ball, and the first thing they do is look around like, okay, who can I give it to, first of all, because I don't want it anymore. And then how can I, like, what are we going to do? Who's moving around me? And I'm not seeing it. But I don't think it's everybody. I think that's even worse. If it was everybody, it would be, but there's like a couple of players who are really trying to do it, and then it just breaks down. And then you just see sort of the crowds, you know, we saw the stadium empty, and we saw, you know, this is one of the first games where you're listening to Radio Leicester and people phoning in. A lot of them were describing it as boring. This is boring. I'm like, it's not boring. It's terrifying. Like, I am not bored watching.
Oh, yeah.
I'm stupefied. I'm going to think of all the adjectives I can think of now, like, you know, horrified of like the lack of skill. But I want to be slightly positive because like, I actually think we did a really good job of, okay, we get back to 1-1. We then have we put Matters through, and Kepa pulls off a really great save. You know, Ricky kind of worked that angle, and then immediately it kind of pinball back out, and then Nacho had a shot, and that was saved as well. And it was like, those are really, like, he shouldn't have saved those one, you know, especially like it was just too close, and it was a really great save. And Matt, you mentioned like Danny Ward saved the hard ones and he let in the easy ones in a way. And I feel like that's kind of Kepa's MO as well, isn't it? He saves the ones he shouldn't save. Maybe should have done a bit better with, you know, I think he did a Danny Ward for Daka's goal, I think, where it was like he wasn't ready for it. And
one set.
We've talked about Daka's no backlift shots, and it just curled in the right way. But I thought, right, guys, it's 1-1. We're on top. The shots led to a freaking free kick. And then I'm going to let you guys talk about what happened during that free kick, because I'm too angry still.
Well, it's more par for the course, right, Jim? Like, we've seen it all season long. It just seems we get into those situations like that. And I guess when you asked me earlier, I'm at a point now where I can't get excited very easily, because I just know that the inevitable letdown is coming on the other end. You know, it's just one of those. I think there are some newer. There's certainly a lot more. You know, since the title, we have a lot more fans. That's just a part of, you know, being a part of the greatest sporting story of all time. You're going to have more fans, but I feel like we're going to have a lot of fans that are going to have to come to terms with some difficult stuff. And we've kind of lived a glorified a little run here. When you look back at the 184 year history of the club, 150 year history of the club, what is it, 148 or 184? I've got those in my head right now.
I think you got 1884 in your head. So.
Yeah. So when you look at this and the history of where we've been, and you talk about just moments that we all have in our brain and we'll never forget, like Naki's miss at Watford, for example, things like that, where your brain goes back to in these wonderful times of the FA Cup and things. And I feel like there's a lot coming for a lot of fans that have been in some really, really good times recently for us. And I think there's some hard facts coming. I don't know. What do you think, Jim?
Well, Jason, what do you think about?
Oh, sorry, I can't. Go ahead, Jason. On the free kick.
Yeah, chicken wing for Fana.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sorry, I took it off track. That's my bad. We're talking about the complete bullshit no call on Fofana's chicken wings. He stuck them out like this and blocked our free kick that we had worked so well into getting. Yeah.
I mean, that's a penalty.
All day.
Like,
every day.
Out of here, man. It's a penalty. Like, I understand sometimes there's an argument where, the player doesn't have time and, ball gets to him so quickly. But that's why the wall is supposed to be where it is. There is that distance that's there. So I think anything that happens to a player in the wall is fair game. It shouldn't be like, oh, well, he didn't have time to react. He clearly makes himself bigger. He's clearly leaning towards the ball. It's a penalty. I don't know what else you can call it. Now, I do think we were maybe a bit lucky with, some other like sort of non-fouls that were called. I think it was a really poorly officiated game, just like all over the place. But that's kind of become par for the course for this league. I think the officiating is just as bad as our football sometimes.
Do you think, speaking of that, do you think that, I think that Pereira tackle in the first, 5 minutes, I think there was an element of, it would have been a yellow if it wasn't the first 5 minutes. It was kind of a bit reckless, and I think but he didn't mean it, but as we talked about when we had the non-yellow red card.
Was that any worse than Sabitzer?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So
I don't know. I don't think it was better than what Sabitzer did.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was just like crap play of someone going for the ball, missing and going over the top. And I think, Sabitzer should have been at least a yellow, and we know the letter of the law is VAR cannot give a retrospective yellow because otherwise games would last 500 hours. To miss, sorry, go on, Matt.
No, I was just kind of loop it all back together here. That's what I wasn't even like, I didn't even scream, get upset about it. I'm so fucking just dulled to these decisions now that I know we're not going to go our way. And I guess that's kind of, I've been lulled back into this, well, we're Leicester, where nothing's going to go right for us. And it's been a while since I've felt that way.
Well, I don't think that's a bad feeling, though. And that's exactly like during the Great Escape, during some of the great runs in the championship. That's kind of what Nigel would use to kind of motivate the guys and say, like, talk shit about the referees. Say, like, why would I speak to, someone of that ilk? And, just completely, go nuts on these guys and kind of help set that siege mentality, which, I mean, look, I'm not saying that Nigel's way is the only way, but that's what any decent manager should be doing in a relegation scrap. Mm-hmm. You don't need to do that stuff when you're not. But when
any decent manager,
fighting for everything, you need to make, we've got our players second guessing every kind of play that they make.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to make a referee second guess any decision that's going to go against your team. And they need to hear it. They need to feel the heat. And he just doesn't want to do that. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think it should be like Leicester against the world. It should be Leicester against the officiating. It should be us against the rich clubs, but not as excuses, more as just like fire for the boys and motivation.
I think Craig Pawson,
as we say in the States.
Right. I think Craig Pawson still, when he closes his eyes at night, I think he still sees Nigel Pearson. It's like just staring at him through his fucking soul. But I mean, you see it with how our players treat the refs on the field. When something goes wrong against Chelsea, 5 of them in that ref's face. And I know a lot of people, this drives people nuts. Like they don't like the surround the referee tactic, but you cannot tell me after watching it in Europe and the way that it works, it does fucking work, and our guys could not be less interested in talking to the referee. There's just,
I think for that one they did, because that was just the most blatant handball,
right? But
everybody
Jim, if you look at them, even like their facial expressions, or even it's not even like a screaming. It's just like it's like a kind of, for those of you, I know this podcast is an audio format, but we do have the video going right now, so you can't really see the face I'm making, but it's just kind of like a laid back, really kind of face when they need to be aggressive.
KDH and Matters were like, Matters put his head in his hand and was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because he had the best view in the house.
Well, he was about to go take a throw in until the referee stopped it. He should have just not even gone to get that ball.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe it was KDH then. Hey, they all look the same. But then it was like you said, back to the officiating. So, I'm thinking, let's just hold out halftime. We've had a let off. They had the goal disallowed. They'd hit the post. 1-1. Yeah, we've been hard done by. Just freaking we had the ball like up in their half on the 49th minute of 4 minutes of added time. And then it's like, obviously there's extra added time because, back to your point, Amati, I don't know if he was adding sauce to that or he was just, I think he was, but, he does a Gary Charles from the 91 Cup final. Gaza on Gary Charles. Kicks him in the chest, Havertz, and guess what? The added time of that incident adds extra time. But again, what are we doing for that goal, gents? I've watched that one 3 times as well, and it's like, let's just play a game of after you between Harry Suter and Daniel Amati. Daniel Amati's, watching, waving his arm in the air. Harry Suter's all he's doing is staring at Kovacic, looping it over the top.
It just and there was added time because of the VAR review, and it's like that's if I'm the manager, I'm like, we give up a goal in time that shouldn't have even been played.
Yeah,
and you kind of use that, but
we switch
again,
on.
There's just no one aside from when you see like James Maddison just try to like force a play. No one seems to kind of want to kind of take the ball, take the game, like take control of the game. And I don't know, like our defenders don't even seem to like relish in defending anymore.
That to me for that goal is like, okay, Harry Suter's watching, he's trying to hold a line or whatever. Daniel Amati, like we have both of them, and Havertz is free, and he just runs behind Suter. Daniel Amati just stands there letting him through. Doesn't try and run. He could have tracked the run, headed it away. Like, yeah, it's beating your first guy who's 6'6", but no, go with the runner. What did they teach you when you're defending? Okay, go with the runner. Pick up your man. And he, clever run by Havertz. He runs behind Suter. So I think Daniel Amati's like, again, back to FIFA. He's confused the AI and he's tricked him that, this person should be marking that player now. No, he's your man. Go with him, deal with that ball, and see out the half. And we can't do it. And it's if I'm Brendan Rodgers at halftime, I'm gonna be going nuts at those guys. And about how to but we shouldn't be going nuts at halftime because of basic mistakes. We should be thinking about like back three. How do you defend as a back three? How many times have we been let off on marginal offsides in this game alone, let alone games where we've been caught on the break? Let's maybe not try and play offside all the freaking time. Maybe they thought, oh, we've been fucking amazing at playing offside because they had their chances when they, VAR disallowed that first one. Oh no, maybe you should have looked at the João Felix one when he hits the post, 20 minutes ago and think, what were we doing then? Let's not do that again. So, good play from Havertz, shit play from us, I think is that. And it's just, we can't see out half. We've got no steel, no ability, no backbone on that. And that to me is like unforgivable when you're playing a back three and you let them waltz down the middle with a basic just lofted, ball. So
Rodgers will not just make sure this team does the defensive basics, and we're going to give up goals. And then also that, I don't know, but like Ward might as well have just sat down in the goal because he had time to get out there and start to go and then
stops.
And then just watch. I'm never seen a keeper watch more balls go into the net.
That's crazy.
Maybe he was so shocked that his defender didn't track the run.
Probably. He
wasn't watching the ball. It was his eyes were rolling so hard in the back of his head.
Basic,
that's what drove him back.
Yes, exactly.
It's a looped lob. It's probably 8 yards out, so it's kind of on that border of Danny Ward's rooted on his line and he's not really anticipating anything. Probably saying, look, if I'm on my line as a goalkeeper, my center back should be kind of on the 18-yard box or just in and packing it at that point.
So here's the thing, though. We know all this, right? We can.
we know all this. It's not our job.
I'm not saying we know better than them. But
no, definitely not.
My point is, we're trying to dissect this, and maybe he was standing here and he watched this. And look, these guys are just not on the same page when it comes to defending. That's it. That's what's happening here. There is the players are being asked to do things that they just don't have the physical ability to do or the ability to stay, focused as long as they are, as long as they need to be to kind of see out the half. And you have a goalkeeper who's clearly expecting his defenders to do something different, and defenders are expecting their goalkeeper to do something different.
Yeah.
So we are now 26 games into the season, and the back line, the defense is an absolute mess. It's a total mess. And when we look at what's going to happen with this side, for me, that says it all. And if we're going to have any prayer in kind of staying in this division, then that needs to get sorted out. And it takes Rodgers forever to sort that stuff out, if he ever does it at all. Last season, we went through the whole season with just diabolical defending on set pieces. We finally needed to get a set piece specialist because I don't know who the heck was doing it at the club. But we don't get the guy in until this year because obviously no one has the foresight to figure out what the visa issues are.
Permit, right? And he couldn't.
But then, Sergeant.
And he had his work permit issues, so he couldn't join or something.
Yeah, so no one even saw that coming.
Thanks Brexit, but he's Norwegian, so they're not in the EU anyway. So,
but then we actually did a terrible job defending set pieces in this game too.
The first minute of the second half, we see the other side of Danny Ward where he doesn't think about it. I think it hit him more than he saved it in a way. But we've talked for we can probably do the second half a lot more quickly than the first half. But I think a couple of questions, something that triggered me, Jason, on what you were saying. So I think I went in halftime. Hey, we've been on we've had some let-offs. This could be our day. That last thing was there, but we have the save. We do make some good chances. Nacho chance that he have done better on. Castagna off the line, but it was kind of a packed line anyway when Gallagher clears it off the line for Castagna. We then make a freaking great chance for KDH from 6 yards that he just can't put in the goal on his strong foot as well. And then, then we go, 3-1 on Mudryk through disallowed offside because of a toenail again. Thank God. And then it was 3-1 really. And then I'm going to get to my question for you guys of, are we going to see with Wout Fast getting a red card, Brendan Rodgers and Johnny Evans kind of hopefully becoming fit? Actually, this is where he has to change his tactics because he can't play a high line with Johnny Evans and Harry Suter. And do we have a leader at the back who maybe adds some solidity? And does this maybe become the sort of inadvertent catalyst for some change that he has to do something different? What do you guys think about that?
I'm praying that will be the case, but I also need to pray that Johnny Evans is going to be able to stay fit.
That's my whole thing.
To make it through a whole game.
Well, let's just say he can, because we've got one game a week.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right, for the rest of the season. We got a couple of midweek. Then we have 2 midweek games for the rest of the season. But everything
yeah. So I hope, Jim, because everyone else in the world can see this. Everyone's talking about it. In between taking down the government, Gary Lineker spotted that and was even tweeting about it.
Yeah.
So solidarity with Gary, by the way.
Yeah.
But
let's look forward as much as we can. Trip to London this weekend and freaking Brentford. And I'll tell you what, a team that's sitting, I think they're in 9th now or 8th, something like that. And not a team that I'm happy to see on the calendar. Jim, what about you?
Brentford, the new Leicester.
Yeah.
They're the team that you always forget where are they in the table and how are they doing, and then you're like, I do think that they are a team that like to move the ball quickly. They like to sort of get in people's faces and be more aggressive. If Johnny can survive a week and not get injured, and we do kind of play how. Maybe he says this is how we should play the back line. Doesn't matter what Brendan says. And we don't leave a huge amount of space. I think we can hopefully, close out. Chris from the back room saying, he thinks that there may be some bets going on. I'm not going to say anything else about that. But I think we could look. I'm going to be positive. I've got my little predictor spreadsheet where I feel like, wait for it, I hope everyone's sitting down. I think we're going to get 40 points. So which is 16 more than we have. And Brentford is going to be a run of 4 games in a row where we're going to not lose. There's my prediction. I'm putting it out there, people. Brentford will draw. We'll draw with Palace. We're going to beat Villa and Bournemouth. That's my prediction.
So are you also predicting, is that by default, you're predicting a managerial change?
I was going to say, who's in charge here?
Yeah. I'm predicting I'm going to woke up. I just woke up then and said, was I sleep talking just a second ago? No. So I think we can, the rot has to stop. I did think we showed a little bit of fight that shows we can do some stuff. I don't think Iheanacho can be this bad for much longer. So
I'm not worried about that at all.
Well, yeah,
I'm worried that
goals and
we
stay in the game.
Need to score 2-3 goals just to get a point.
In
a lot
Johnny,
of
we
these
trust.
games. The goals will come. Our guys will score, but can we keep the other team out of the goal? And I just don't see it. I don't see it, guys. I don't know if any of you guys have a bit more kind of optimism on that front to share with me, but I don't feel good right now.
We've got a weaker spine than a jellyfish.
Yeah,
my Ray Hudson. channeling there. Oh man, we got a weaker spine than a jellyfish.
Well, he's dead on. And I'm with you, Jason. I do not see where, I mean, short of, the club coming together as a unit, Jim kind of alluded to it, that Johnny just says, fuck him, let's do what I say. Unless there is some sort of us against Brendan mentality that forms in the locker room where they all just say, he doesn't want to be here. Let's do this for us. Let's do this for our careers. I just don't.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
A lot of the players do like Rodgers a lot, and Rodgers likes a lot of the players. There's clearly still a good relationship there. I think the players are playing for him. I also don't think that will happen because I don't think a lot of the players will be with us next season, so they could really care less.
My point was just they want to get some good shit on film for prospective clubs.
I don't know. Yeah,
with that.
I don't know how much of a difference that'll make, and if anything, getting relegated will kind of put Leicester in a worse position to kind of negotiate higher prices for some of these guys. So it'll be a lot easier for them to get the moves that they want, especially if they're being signed at cut rates. Then generally what you see is when a team gets a deal on a player, they may bump up that salary a bit for the guy. So I don't feel good about the situation. I don't feel good about the mindset of the team. And I just don't really feel like it's sunk in yet amongst the players, the manager, the coaches, and also the organization, the front office.
Yeah, you really can look too at the roster and be like, how many of these guys have gone through a relegation fight? I mean, fucking the manager, the closest he ever had was when he was at Watford. So it takes a attitude to get out of that. And yeah, man, I'm dead with you. It doesn't exist.
Evans was in one and he got relegated, and that's why we got him at such a good price.
West Brom, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's not a great precursor. Well, okay, I guess all
Danny
we can
Warding
do
goal
is
next season, team. But we have the best goalkeeper from the championship from last season, so that's one player. But he'll probably leave by the time he never gets a game, and he has to go behind like a wardrobe.
I think Jason and I are definitely on the same boat. I think Jim's got a little bit more optimism. I think Chris has way more optimism, but even him, I think it's even waning on him. I don't want to speak for him, but I don't know how you can watch us right now and be optimistic about it. But regardless of that, guys, one thing that will always be true is there will always be our small little family and community of fans. We ain't going nowhere. We've been through this before. We'll hold your hand and guide you through the fun of the championship if that's where we end up. And, regardless, this is who we are as a club is built around fighting through the tough times. And we've done it time and time again, and hopefully we can just do it again. And on that note, thank you for joining our little family each week and listening and commiserating with us, because either good times when all the goals are going in or the bad times when Amarty can't put one in from 2 inches, we'll be here. So thanks to my wonderful co-hosts. You guys are the best. Shout out to Chris running the scenes, running the work from behind the scenes. You're the best too, buddy. And yeah, guys, if you're traveling to London, be safe. And if you're traveling to the pub in New York or Houston or San Diego, be safe as well. And hopefully we'll have something better to talk about next week on US Fox's podcast. So thank you. For Jim and Jason, I am Matt. And guys, we'll see you next week on the US Fox's podcast.
We ain't going nowhere.